I will remember, back in the 1970s, reading through a CP magazine and coming across a story that purported to be true of an incident during the Second World War where a young member of the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, WAAF, was punished by caning for some serious breach of regulations. The story mentioned that a cane had to be flown out specially from UK for the punishment to take place. More recently, I have attempted to determine whether there ever was any truth in the story, and I am extremely grateful to those people who so kindly responded to my advertisement asking for further information. This has led to further stories of girls serving in the other female branches of the armed forces also having been caned. Let's start with the WAAF story. Based on information received during my research, the following is a summary of what seems to be the story I remember. A 19-year-old leading aircraftswoman, LAC, had originally been sentenced to 8 strokes of the birch by the Aden Protectorate Court. This appears then to have been altered to 8 or 12 strokes of the cane, and some accounts suggest this was because of a shortage of birches in Aden at the time. If the story I remember was true and a cane had to be specially flown out, you might wonder why they didn't fly some birch rods out instead. The girl was led into a gymnasium or out into a compound, depending on which story you read, in her uniform where she was bent over a suitable apparatus. The prescribed punishment was then inflicted with both female and male observers present. All versions are agreed that a male police officer or male NCO wielded the cane. Another story brought to my attention concerns a young Women's Royal Navy Service, WRNS, officer who began her first posting at a naval base in the West Country and on her first day was surprised to enter her immediate superiors, also a WRNS, office door and find a young female trainee bent across the desk being caned on the bottom. Further investigation by the young officer revealed that offenders were given the option of being caned or being put on report to the commanding officer. This young officer was herself caned on a couple of occasions for serious breaches in her duty. Another story involving WRNS ratings takes us to the island of Malta, still during the Second World War, where over 200 of these girls were serving. Here the commandant herself authorized girls to be caned. Canings were usually administered after the girls had changed into PT kit. One report was of a Wren of 23 who addressed an important communication to the wrong admiral resulting in an incident at the War Office. The Chief Petty Officer, CPO, in charge of the male section was summoned to the CO and told to sort the ninny out. Another report from a lady and former Wren, now an octogenarian, was that corporal punishment was common for minor offences at some establishments. On the base she was posted to, there was one old officer who was notorious for handing out beatings to the younger Wrens for trivial offences. When sent to go before him, she said, the deserving girl would be confronted with her offence and made sure that she had understood the charges. She was then spanked with a 2-foot wooden ruler. The octogenarian former Wren said that she was spanked in this way twice and although does not rule out a sexual motive, believes that it was more likely just about the strict discipline of those times. Where informal spankings seem to have been carried out by serving men, other reports suggest that on all women establishments caning was a more routine and formal affair. At a base near Valletta on Malta during World War II it has been suggested that anything from 12 to 30 strokes with a cane were meted out by the senior female warrant officer. Punishments were administered both routinely in private and on occasions before the assembled ship's company. One young Wren said that during the worst privations of the attacks on the island, healthy young women often did not know if they would live or die and they, like their boyfriends, were serving irregular hours. Consequently young women were frequently late on duty, discovered in compromising situations and on many occasions caught pilfering or hoarding rations. Under the circumstances taking a quick shellacking was the least of our worries, said one former servicewoman.